Okay, again, thank you for showing up tonight, folks. It's going to be tonight. It's going to be myself. I'm the Dan DeBray. I'm the director of district PR, and I'm going to be co-presenting with Scott Ebert, who's going to be the incoming, or who's going to become the director of membership for the district. Scott's going to kick it off, and then I'm going to kind of dive into the communication elements, and then Scott's going to come back and present a few facts and figures about membership, and then and how to bring new people into the organization. And then we'll finish it off. There we go. Scott, over to you.
Okay, thanks, Dan. Good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining us. So I'm just going to share a little bit of the information to give some context for all of this work. So for several months, 2 months, we worked together to kind of come up with a bit of a plan between public relations and the membership committee or membership group to work on some planning together. And that's kind of how you'll see a lot of us and a lot of our plans kind of work together. So the district really, and here's what we're all about, right? So our statement of purpose for the district is that we're here to support the clubs, to help them operate, to reach their full potential, and to ensure that we inspire Rotarians and we serve as a resource to enable the work. And we want to support really vibrant clubs and allow people to make change locally and around the world. And then you can see the vision of Rotary, which is quite compelling. So up to the next slide. So together, our strategic priorities have been to leverage Rotary International's areas of focus, the 7 areas of focus, and to attract members and to retain the existing members. So we're placing a special focus this coming year on the environment as one of the 7th areas of focus for RI. A lot of the work that Dan will be doing is executing targeted communication that's focused on and supporting the attraction of new members with the skills and passion that we need to leverage the growth in the district. And we want to drive growth and diversity of membership that kind of matches our local communities, and possibly found new clubs looking at the new membership models. And Brian Bennett, who's been the director for several years, director of membership, is going to head up the membership models for our membership committee and kind of give advice and support clubs that want to look at various models, satellite clubs, corporate memberships, family memberships, all the things that are kind of outside the box, but ways that we can attract new members. So one of the biggest things that we're trying to support too is to execute targeted communication that relates to our incoming president, Shekhar Mehta, and his call to action that each one should bring one. So we're hoping that each member will bring a member. If you can bring a member to actually join, that would be great. But at least invite a member to join your club and to kind of get exposed to Rotary and the benefits of Rotary. And a lot of the work, as I mentioned, is going to be targeted ad campaigns using Google and other social media channels that Dan's going to go into a lot more detail ahead. So over to you, Dan.
Thanks, Scott. Yeah, so there's going to be multiple strategies in play for attracting new members in the next year. Each one bring one is part of it, but targeted ad campaigns is something that's relatively new. I guess maybe it's totally brand new, quite frankly, for our district. So that's what we want to spend some time talking about tonight. And so the purpose of this presentation is to share what we plan on doing so that when you see it in action over the next 6 to 12 months, you'll say, oh, okay, I know where that ad came from. That's what we're doing from the district. So you'll automatically kind of connect the dots between what you see, should you be on Google or on social media in any way, and what we're doing. And at the same time, give everybody, every cluster, every club, an opportunity to kind of participate should this program prove to be a success. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about that as well. So when we say execute targeted ad campaigns through Google and social media, what do we really mean? This isn't a new strategy at all. Businesses have been embracing this strategy for at least 10 years or so, with the increased popularity of platforms like Facebook and of course Google, who's all powerful, the two largest advertising companies in the world. We're going to go out there, we're going to find, let's call them targets. It's not a great word, but people we think could be great Rotarians. We're going to pick a channel and we're going to create an ad format and we're going to show them an ad. And hopefully they'll be encouraged and interested in that ad enough so that they click on it and come to a landing page. They'll read a little bit more about Rotary. They'll get we'll hopefully collect some contact information. And then from that point onwards, we'll create a kind of a district outreach and then ultimately a club outreach program to close the loop and encourage them to become members, assuming that the fit is right. So that's the big picture of what we're trying to do. So tonight we're just going to walk you through some of the steps on this to get you a little bit more familiar with what we're up to. Okay, so let's talk about targeting first. Who do we want to talk to? Oops, there we go. There's a build slide. Well, first and foremost, it's people living within the district of 7080. So, we all have a fairly good understanding of what we are geographically. So all the ads we're going to use on this campaign or our campaigns are going to be within our borders. And that's the beautiful thing about online media. You can pick exactly where you want your ad to go because platforms like Facebook and Google have a pretty good understanding of where you live, and they actually have a pretty good understanding of where you work or maybe where you have some leisure time. So we can pick that. In most cases, we're going to pick where people live, and it's going to be within the communities that we currently have our clubs. Second to that, the beautiful thing about online, we can target based on people's interests. So our first year, we're gonna pick 4 areas. So we're gonna talk to people who have through the logic of Google and Facebook, have shown an interest in community service or volunteering. That's the first area. The second is people who have an interest in protecting the environment. The third is people who've expressed or seem to have an interest in international development and projects that are helping the less developed, less fortunate parts of our world. And then finally, people who have an interest in youth leadership, bringing up teenagers and young youth to have leadership skills so they can live life to its full potential. So that out of the gates, those are going to be the 4 areas we're going to focus on. They're fairly broad, but what we'll probably find as the program evolves, we're going to start to sub-segment these 4 areas into even more areas. So this simple list of 4 may kind of mushroom into a list of 4 plus another 10 segments. So youth leadership could be people who are left university and interested in developing leadership skills, in their 20 somethings, or youth leadership could be high school students who want to join Interact. It could be a range of different things. And so that'll start to shape up and take specific form as the program evolves. But for now, we're going to live with these very 4 broad buckets. And then as well, we're going to look for people who've got skills that Rotary needs. And so Rotary, and from my standpoint, I'm in PR. I'd love to see people with more digital marketing skills in the vote, so we can do a great job of communicating all the fantastic work we do across the district. But of course, we need people with leadership skills. We need people with project management skills. We need creative people. So in some cases, we're going to be using targeting to make sure that the folks that we're talking to probably have the skill sets that would fit nicely within the needs of a basic Rotary club. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about channels and ad format. I've talked about a few already. First channel is going to be Google. And as you may or may not know, we've got a Google grant for the district. And that gives our district the ability to spend upwards of $120,000 a year on AdWords, search AdWords for free. It's basically money that they give us to place ads for free. Now, the reality is we could never spend $120,000 a year. We just don't have enough people to talk to or enough things to talk about. They create that kind of high bar for big organizations. Let's say Rotary in the US, Rotary International US, could probably spend $120,000 a year across all the US population talking about what Rotary does. But in our case, we're probably going to spend $5,000 to $10,000 of free money next year using AdWords and Google. The second area for Google is going to be what they call display ads. So often when you're on Google or YouTube, you see little ads pop up out of the corner of your tablet or your computer screen. Our ads are going to start to pop up there, again, being fairly targeted and with specific messages in mind. Facebook, most clubs have a Facebook account, so you're probably fairly familiar with ads on Facebook. It's basically Facebook is an advertising company, and if you haven't seen an ad on Facebook, you're not spending much time on it. But our ads are going to start to appear on Facebook, again, being very targeted and able to reach the people they want to talk to. And of course, Facebook's cousin, part of this Facebook organization, is Instagram. And Instagram is pretty important for us because it tends to be targeted at younger people. Who are very digitally active and live a kind of a mobile lifestyle, which is something we think is important for the growth of our clubs. And then finally, we're also going to use LinkedIn, which is, you probably have used or have an account with LinkedIn. It's kind of a professional tool, but it's got great capabilities to target people in certain professions or industries and in certain life stages. One of the things I've talked about a little bit is reaching out to people maybe in their early 20s, right after they've left university and looking to build leadership skills. Rotary is a great place to do that. On the flip side, you may have people that have been recently retired. They've got a boatload of skills, but they've got nothing to do. They've got time in their hands. LinkedIn's a great place to find those people as well. So we're going to be leveraging that social media platform based on its ability to do that type of targeting. Okay. So that's a quick look at the channels and the formats we're going to use over the next little while. Let's then talk about landing pages. So you've probably, if you've ever clicked on an ad that you've got served up on Facebook, in most cases it doesn't take you to the product company's website. It takes you to a landing page that's been specifically developed to tell you about the information that you're looking for. And so that's what we're going to start to do. We're going to develop landing pages for community service, for the environment, for international projects, and for youth leadership. And in fact, there may be, like I said, different versions of each one of those landing pages with slightly different messages that we hope are relevant to the people that click on the messages that we put out there through paid advertising. And so that's going to be an important part of the campaign, is to develop, maintain those landing pages. So let's talk a little bit about the first type of campaign that we're going to start using, and that's AdWords. So the way AdWords work, as you probably know, you go to Google, the world's resource for information. You type in a keyword or word or something you want to learn about. So in this example about community service, somebody might type in the keyword service projects or nonprofit community service or community work. Any of those keywords, they type that in, and they're going to be served up some ads. And the ads are going to look something like this. Now, these are just a very short sample of quite literally dozens and dozens of different ads that they could potentially see. And the ads are always going to be linked to the keyword. So if somebody types in service project, they're probably going to see an ad that has the word service project in the top end of the copy. But long story short, you can see the ads that we're going to show talk about community service in some way, shape, or form. In some cases, talk about Rotary or Rotaract, and tell them a little bit about our organization. Okay. Hopefully, the ads that we create are motivating and encouraging enough to get people to click and bring them to a landing page. And the landing page for community service looks something like this. So I'm going to click on this. This should open up my browser. There we go. So here's the live version of the landing page that we now have on our website. This page is actually hosted on the district website. We just removed the top bar navigation so it doesn't look like our district website anymore. So people kind of learned a little bit about Rotary. They're encouraged to click to speak to a Rotarian, where we're gonna ask them for some more information, and then we'll reach out to them. We give them a little bit of social proof, some quotes from people that are associated with Rotary. We tell them a little bit about the fact that, we've got different types of clubs, whether it's Interact, Rotaract, or Rotary. And at the bottom of the page, we also give them some social proof in terms of the types of organization that our clubs work with across the district. So that people can quickly get a sense that, oh, okay, Rotary is working with a lot of really good organizations. I can see they got a lot of scope, a lot of breadth. That's something I may be interested in working, organization I may be interested in being a part of. So if they actually click on the button to speak to somebody, we basically ask them, and it's all about collecting their contact information. We ask them for their name, their email number, their phone number if they want to give it to us, where they live, importantly, to make sure that we ultimately place them with the right people, and then ask them if they have any questions or comments. So they fill that information out, and okay, how can I go back to, bear with me. I don't want to stop sharing. I want to go back to my, bear with me here. I want to go back to my PowerPoint slide. I'm going to have to stop sharing and click that again. Here we go. Sorry about that, folks. Not as slick as it should be. There we go. PowerPoint. Ultimately, they give us the information. We send them a quick email saying, great, thanks for your inquiry. One of our volunteers, in this case, Scott, is going to contact you by email or phone within the next couple of days to answer your questions. And so there's our point of contact. From this point forward, we're going to consider they have an interest in Rotary and start to hopefully develop a relationship with them to the point where they come to a meeting and find out more about us. So that's a typical, oops, let me just back up. In the meantime, if they do have some other questions about Rotary, they can click on this little link, which is Discover Rotary. It takes them to another page that's embedded within our website that talks about what Rotary is all about. Let me just click on this really quickly. You can see this page if you go to our district website. It basically talks about traditional clubs, alternative clubs, Rotaract. They can click any one of these to learn more about the different types of models we have. And it talks about that, the benefits of joining Rotary, the things that we do, and then ultimately, the types of causes we support. Whether it's fighting disease or protecting the environment. So it gives everybody a kind of a flavor for what Rotary does before they go too far down the pipe. Okay, sorry, I'm going to go through this clunky version of opening up, sharing the presentation again. There we go. Okay, so that's the path people would take for AdWords. We've got another campaign going for the environment. I'm not going to take you through the detail here, but it's basically, if they've got interest in terms of the environment and environmental protection, we serve up some ads that talk about what we do as Rotary to kind of talk about the environment. And as I mentioned, we're going to spend most of our ad dollars on the environment within the next 52 weeks because the environment is new for Rotary. You're only new once. And so we want to make sure that since we're still, the environment and Rotary are still kind of a new team, we want to make sure that we leverage the newness of that as much as possible. At the end of this time next year, we'll make sure that we fold in all the other areas with an equal amount of financial support and spending behind it. Okay. We've got a landing page. I'm not going to take you through our landing page, but we've got, our commitment to the environment is specified on this landing page. And we have, again, the same kind of contact information. People give us the information, then Scott would reach out and contact them and ultimately get more information about what they're looking for to make sure that we close a loop with them properly and encourage them to go to the right club and make the right connection with the right people at that club. Okay, so let's move on to social media. I've talked about this a little bit. We know that Facebook and Instagram very much skewed, certainly Instagram, towards younger people. And that's something we want to try to do as a district, is get more people into our clubs, whether it's through Rotaract clubs or Rotary clubs or Passport clubs or you name it. We want to see more youth. The sad reality is I think 50% of our current membership is over the age of 60. That does not bode well for where our clubs are going to be in 10 years from now. We definitely need a good shot of youth to re-energize our clubs and make sure we're a strong, viable organization in 10, 15, 20 years. Okay. The approach we're going to use on Facebook, not too surprisingly, is a little bit different. So of course, we're going to target people living within our borders, or in this case, we're going to have targeting people with an interest in community service as well as an interest in protecting the environment. So instead of AdWords like we have in Google, where you type in a word, let's say the environment, we're just going to serve up ads, knowing that we're going to serve up ads to people that have, in this case, an interest in the environment. And so they're going to see something that looks like this. And this ad is the first of many, many, many ads that we'll be producing. So you may love it, you may hate it. But like I said, if you don't love this one, there will be one that you love coming down the pipe, I'm sure, because the beauty about social media advertising is if something's not working for you, if it's not generating clicks, guess what? You get rid of it, you find the one that is generating clicks to do the heavy lifting. And so we'll find out soon enough whether this ad is working. And if it's not, we'll trash it and move on to a different idea. So here you go. I'll show you this ad. Whoops. I'm gonna
are a vital.
Of course, I didn't press share sound, so we're going to try that again. There we go.
Be part of the solution. Projects that protect our environment are a vital part of what we do. Rotary, we are people of action. Contact us today.
There we go. Simple as that. It's just a 20-second ad that lets people know that Rotary is now interested in protecting the environment, and it'll kind of list. I mean, that ad listed 3 or 4 different approaches we're using, but as the campaign goes on, we'll list an infinite number of approaches that we're using to protect the environment. And at the end, most importantly, there's a call to action. Contact us today, and if they click, they'll bring them to a landing page where again we'll hope to collect their contact information. Okay. Here's another one. This one would probably be used on LinkedIn. We'd be, again, targeting people within our border with an interest in community service and volunteering. Probably do an A/B test, talk to young adults looking to develop leadership skills, or maybe, again, recently retired professionals. And the ad would look something like this. You've probably seen this ad in some shape or form. I actually kind of borrowed it from Rotary International and just kind of recut it with a different voiceover. So here it goes.
A little idea can make a big difference with the power of Rotary behind it. Together, we work to strengthen our communities and help those in need. Rotary, we are people of action. Contact us today.
There we go. Let me find that. So yeah, there's an example of, again, a quick 20-second ad, lets people know what Rotary is all about, and then again, invites them to contact us to get more information. Okay. So that's essentially what we're going to be doing, whether it's through AdWords or through social media campaigns with video messages to get people to contact us. And then from that point onwards, we're going to handle the lead the same way that we do currently when we get a lead from Rotary International. So I'm going to pass this page over to Scott. Scott?
Unmute. Sorry.
There we go. Sorry. You're there. Good stuff.
There we go. Thanks, Dan. So Brian's done a great job over the past few years in making sure he refers out any inquiries. And we definitely don't want to have an inquiry that comes in and have a lag time. We're going to immediately, if somebody is interested in joining Rotary, a prospective member is going to submit a form through Rotary.org or through the district site or any of the district ways that we would hear from them. We're going to review it right away. I'll get a copy and the district governor will get a copy, and we'll deal with that alert right away. Probably it'll be with a phone call and or an email. And then that inquiry will be sent to the assistant governor for the area that the person's inquiring about. And then that person within their clusters, we're asking each of the area governors to kind of develop clusters. For example, Guelph has a cluster group. Cambridge has one. Kitchener and Waterloo have clusters. And by working together, we're just hoping to find a club that best meets that individual's interests and the time of day that they can meet. We want them to join Rotary, any Rotary club, and we're not going to be sort of fighting for members. We'd all like people to join our own clubs, but we want to make sure they're connected to Rotary if they have an interest. So a copy will also be shared with the president, secretary, and the membership chair. They'll get an alert of this lead, and we'll be following up on the back end to make sure that that there's follow-up and that they close the loop with people. Again, we never want to have an inquiry that isn't addressed in a timely way, because people that reach out to us and express interest are usually pretty keen for, you know, inviting to a club and kind of having that conversation.
Great. Any questions about that? Okay, let's move on. So let's talk a little bit about the investment. It's not a ton of money. We don't have a huge budget in PR, but we're going to basically spend every last penny on this program. We've got $5,000 to spend. We're going to distribute those funds against Google Display, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And on top of that, we've got the Google grant. I estimate that we're probably going to spend $5,000 in free grant money in the next year on this program as well. So roughly a total of $10,000 spent on communications to attract new members to our clubs across the district. So if you're asking kind of where are we going to spend the money, for all intents and purposes, the distribution of spending is kind of going to match the distribution of the populations across the clusters in our district. So for instance, so Brampton's got roughly 20% of the population. Because we're targeting people with an interest in community service or in the environment, we assume that, you know, those people are everywhere and they more or less match the distribution of population. So that's where you're going to see kind of the spending take place over the next 52 weeks or so. But there is going to be an opportunity to change that, and we'll talk about that in a minute or two. Okay. Now, it's all about metrics. If anybody's ever kind of seen me talk, I'm a pretty big believer in measuring stuff. And that's the beautiful thing about online communications. You can measure everything. So for all these campaigns, whether it's Google or Facebook or LinkedIn, we're going to measure reach, which is how many people did we talk to? How many people saw the message? How many people clicked on the message to get to our landing page? How much do we spend on a given campaign or a given ad? How much did it cost to get one person to click on average to get them to our landing page? How many leads actually got generated? How many people filled out that contact form? And finally, what is the cost per person on average for people that filled out the contact form? So all this stuff is going to be collected at an aggregate level, and we're obviously going to collect leads at a cluster level to make sure we have some understanding as to where the leads are popping up, and so we can present those facts back to you. So what does $5,000 do? It's not a huge pot of money, but I think it's big enough to give us some results. So I'm pretty confident we should be able to reach about 200,000 people with $5,000. And from that, I think we should generate roughly 4,000 clicks. So that's people coming to our landing page to learn more. And then I'm pretty confident about that number too. Now, the next number, I don't have a lot of confidence at all. I really don't know what it's going to be. So I'm saying a range of between 100 and 300 people are actually going to read through the information and decide to give us their contact information so that we can contact them back and start to create a relationship. How many new members will come from that 100 to 300 people? TBD. It's going to be based on the quality of our follow-up at a club by club level. Hopefully we'll do a great job, and if we've got 100 leads, we'll get 100 new members, assuming the fit is right. We want, of course, to have the right members in our clubs, people who are committed to the values that Rotary embraces and who are, ready to get stuff done, to become people of action, because that's where the real work starts, and how we can be effective as an organization. Google's free dollars are not included in this. This is just the paid investment. It's really tough to judge the impact of the Google grant at this point in time, because we just don't have a very firm idea how large our reach is going to be through Google. Even though they give you lots of money to spend on their grant, At the same time, they throttle the amount of ads you can actually show on any one given topic. So although we may ask to have an ad shown every time somebody types in the word community service, we may only get our ad shown once out of every 10 times somebody in the general population types in the word community service. So it's just too early to tell. But as we get more learning on it, I'll definitely try to extrapolate what new members are going to be through the Google AdWords grant as well. Now, so what's how do you guys fit in? Well, the reality is, if this, we're gonna measure everything between now and December, and we're gonna come back to you and anybody else is interested and present the results, and hopefully they're going to be successful. That our $5,000 investment has generated 100 leads, 400 leads, and at that point, individual clusters or clubs within clusters can say, hey, I'd like to spend some more money. I realize that the region only has, or district only has $5,000. I'd like to, put $1,000 towards a cluster effort in Burlington, let's say. That's where my club's from. And that's a great idea. Then we would take that $1,000 and focus it on ads that are just targeted at people living in your geographic area. So there may be a way for clusters to kind of double down on success and drive growth in their individual clusters if they think it'll be beneficial to all the clubs. But of course, that's going to be dependent on whether we're successful or not. And so I'm very much an open book, sharing the good and not so good. And so you'll see that presentation come your way in December in terms of what we learned through this whole initiative. So how can you help? Number one, no surprise, follow up on new leads. And just a quick plug here. We've just finished redesigning the membership page of the district website, and you may have seen this already, but there are all kinds of great links on this page now, and there's a whole section devoted to following up on membership leads. So if you haven't kind of gone through this to figure out the best practice, please do, and make sure that we're taking every opportunity to maximize the success when getting new people into the
And this
organization.
page isn't displaying for some reason.
Not displaying. Okay, that's weird. Let me see if I can get it to display. How's that?
Much better.
Much better. There we go. So this is just a reminder. This is the membership link on our district website. We'll take you to this page. And we've now organized to kind of bring links to people that are relevant for specific topics. So towards the bottom of the page, it talks about following up on membership leads. Okay. So go to that if you haven't read that yet.
A huge thank you to Dan for helping us with that. It's amazing. It's a whole lot better. Thanks, Dan.
My pleasure. My pleasure. So that's the first thing you can do. Second thing you can do, so if you do see social media posts on your Facebook or LinkedIn accounts, share them or comment on them. When you share or comment on a post that is coming from the district, that basically makes it work harder, because Facebook will see, oh, that post is generating some interest. It's going to share it for free to more and more people if you do that. So anytime you see an ad that probably ends with the words, contact us now, that's probably a paid post. We'd love it if you reacted to it and as you interact with your own social media channels. Another thing you can do, and this isn't totally directed to this program, but we want you to start sending us your most important social media posts so that we can share them on our Facebook page at District 780 and our Instagram page, and potentially also on our LinkedIn page as we get that up to speed. It's an important part of the communication process, and we do throttle it a little bit. We've got 50 clubs in a district. If every club could give us 4, that'd be 200. 4 times 50, it's 200 posts over the course of the year that we'd love to put up on our channels. But we need you to send it to us, because we're with 50 clubs, it's hard for us to understand all the social media posts that are going on all the channels all the time. Liking and commenting on posts, that's important. Over the next little while, we're going to have more PR training opportunities coming your way. We're probably going to be running one on Instagram and maybe even LinkedIn come the fall. Look for that. And if it's of interest to you, I'd love to see you guys come in and participate to see how you can leverage those channels for the benefit of your club. We're going to start to have PR leadership meetings. The one that we talked about in December is going to be one, but there's probably going to be another one between now and then that talks a little bit about how we're doing as a district in terms of PR and kind of getting a bigger following of people understanding what our clubs are up to within our district. last point, or maybe one of the last points, is sending your stories to the bulletin. As you know, we've been running a kind of a bottom approach to the bulletin over the past year or so. Love to see individual club success stories make their way into the bulletin. Just send us your stories. We'll tweak them a little bit, but promise you we will publish them so that you can share your success with other clubs. And then finally, again, not totally related to what we're talking about today, but please join our Facebook group. As you know, we've got a Facebook page within this directive, and we also have a Facebook group. Facebook group allows anybody who is a member of the group to create a post, to comment on a post. It's basically a tool that that's out there for our clubs in our district. It's for Rotarians by Rotarians. So if you're not part of a group with this banner, please.
Dan, I'll just interrupt again. Something's not sharing properly. That's
weird because I am sharing the screen, but when it goes off to that direction, it doesn't seem to pick it up. Sorry, there we go. It's this is our community page for clubs, for club members, by club members. Anybody can post here. Anybody can comment. I encourage everybody to become a member of this group. Okay. Thanks for that, Darren. We'll have to figure out this technology issue some point down the road. There we go. So that in the program, in a nutshell, is the program. Any questions about that? Again, the intent of tonight was really just to share what we're doing, so that when you see it happening, you'll have a better understanding as to what's happening.
Dan, can I ask one question? On behalf of a few people emailed and asked if they could, or chatted, wondering if they could get a copy of the slides. Will they be posted to?
Yeah, I'm happy to post this to, I'll post it on the PR page of the district website. I'll just put a little link on the left-hand nav, and they can find it there sometime tomorrow.
Excellent.
For sure.
Thanks.
Anything else? What time? I don't have my clock in front of me. What time do we have?
7:38.
7:38.
Okay. So that's the content of this presentation. I'm going to, since we're running a little bit early, people want to stick around. I just want to share one last thing about what we're doing at a PR level for cluster-based communications. It's very simple. It's 5 minutes, but I'll just give you an overview of what we're up to. Okay. So as a district, what we've done over the past probably 3 or 4 months or so is we created a small campaign using Google Adwords to make it easier for people to find Rotary clubs in their cluster. It seems like a small thing, but it's a pretty important thing. So here's a for instance. If I was living in Oakville and I typed the word Rotary Oakville, this is what would appear on the search page that would be shown to me by Google. So it's a little overwhelming. It talks about, there's Rotary Club of Oakville, then there's one for Trafalgar, there's another one for Trafalgar, Trafalgar again, Oakville again, Trafalgar again. So like Oakville's got 4 clubs, maybe 5. Wouldn't it be nice to have a link that shows them information about all the clubs? And so we've actually started to create an ad, through the Google grant, an ad that shows people all the information about all the clubs in Oakville. And in fact, we've replicated that for each cluster. I'm just showing you Oakville as an example. So, so if people in Oakville type in the words Rotary, Rotary Club, Rotary Oakville, they're going to get an ad at the top of the page that looks like something like this: Rotary Clubs in Oakville, contact us today. Locations and meeting times, email addresses, phone numbers, so that at the top of the page they can understand all the clubs very quickly by clicking the link that are available within their geographic area. So it's hopefully a lot less confusing for the person who actually wants to reach a club and they know clubs exist within their city. Okay, if they click on the ad, it takes them to a landing page that looks something like this. I'm going to click on this and something tells me it's not going to show up, so I got to change my view. There we go. It's a landing page that looks something like this, right? So a couple of pictures of Oakville at the top of the page. Then we've got each club identified with meeting time, key fundraisers, charities, and most importantly, links to get to the club. And so in this case, we've got Trafalgar, Oakville West, Oakville, Passport South, and Rotaract. So all the clubs within Oakville are listed on one page. And so again, we've taken the same approach. We've replicated it for Burlington, for Cambridge, for KW, Guelph, so on and so forth. And so far, it's been fairly effective. We're seeing a strong amount of click-throughs on Google to these landing pages, which is great. The next step in our little journey here is, in fact, going to be to make this look a little prettier. So right now, let's face it, this isn't the prettiest page out there. A lot of text. We're going to be borrowing a page from the KW cluster where they talk about what Rotary is in a very high level at the top of the page, and they have this nice little folder design at the bottom of the page where people just kind of click on the club and it opens up the page in their folder and gives them more information about the specific club. So we're going to be adding a little bit more graphics to make our landing pages a little bit more interesting. But again, we're sharing this with you just to let you know that if you do see an ad, if you type the words Rotary in your specific city, it's a good chance at the top of the page you're going to see an ad that brings you to a landing page that will look something like this, and that will talk about your clubs. Now, this is a district-driven initiative, but we're very, very much interested in having the districts own it in terms of the information that we put on this landing page. Ultimately, we want to percolate from the bottom up to the district. We'll put on this page what you feel is interesting and compelling for your cluster. If you don't, we're happy to do that for you. But ultimately, if you have a strong enough interest, we want to, certainly give you guys the keys to the cars and let you figure out, what you want here to drive interest to your clubs. Okay. And that's it. I'm gonna wrap it right there. Any questions?
Dan, this is Heather.
Sorry, can you clarify again, Dan? When will these ads start? Did I see January of 2022?
Nope. These ads will the ads will start actually in July. So as soon as we can crack open the new Rotary budget, we're going to start spending it. And so by December, with 4 to 5 months under our belt, we're going to come back to you with the results of the campaigns. So at that point in time, if you think, hey, these have actually worked quite well. Their return, we're getting a lot of leads. The dollars invested to get a lead seems reasonable. If individual clusters want to ante up some dollars to spend more money within their cluster, the geography of their cluster, they're more than welcome to do it at that time. And so we would essentially run the programs for the clusters using the same creative, the same positioning strategies and targeting strategies. So it's kind of turnkey for the cluster. They basically just write a check and we'll take it from there if they feel it's something that what they want to do. Anything else?
How often are we allowed to send the posts, the media posts?
I'm looking for about per club about 4 times a year. So the way I'd like to think about it is when you have got a major fundraiser planned and you want to help get the word out, that's one opportunity. Another opportunity is that right after a fundraiser and you've had success and you want to share about your success, there's another opportunity. So every club probably has at least a couple major fundraisers that they probably want to talk about throughout the year. So that would be about 4 posts per year per club.
Can we send posts about our community programs, like the social senior programs, the youth programs?
Yeah, if there's any opportunity for other clubs to learn, absolutely, yeah, for sure. It's all about learning for me. So it'll hit both the page and the more outward looking, the better. That's the type of material that we want to put on our Facebook page or Instagram page. If it's more inward looking and you want kind of debate and discussion, that's the type of thing that you can post yourself by going to our Facebook group.
What's the Instagram handle? I'll tag you in my post then, I guess.
Yeah, that's probably the easiest way. Or you could just tag us or email them to me and I'll make sure to put them up. Instagram is, what is it? Is it a Rotary 780? I think so. Yeah.
Dan, it's Paul Rustrup here.
Hey, Paul.
This is exciting. I think it's really a great initiative to try and do something to drive membership this way. It makes a huge amount of sense. The one question I have is just in terms of the common landing page. I know you and I chatted a little bit about it. So with the content that's specific to a cluster, what's the sort of process in terms of updating that, making changes, and just sort of making it relevant and current?
So you're talking about the landing page for the Rotary Awareness Program that we talked about at the very end of the presentation?
Yeah, just at the
Yeah.
very end. Yeah, just the cluster pages that.
I would like to see an individual within a cluster kind of own that content. So anybody could have access to the district website. That's where that page would be hosted. And you could, as the owner of it, go in, update it, change it any way you want.
Yeah.
If across the cluster you don't have the resources to do that, just send me what you want changed, and I'll change it like that. Either way, but ultimately, I would like the clusters to kind of own the not only the what's there, but also the accuracy of the data on a go forward basis.
Okay. That's great. Thanks.
And I just asked,
Heather Palestine speaking. Oh,
Yes, Heather.
oh, hi. I just wanted to, first of all, I think that last initiative, I think it's awesome, because I know that a couple of people have tried to find the clubs, and it's really, really difficult.
Yeah, it is.
Because nobody knows what the names of the clubs are
Yeah.
when you're coming from outside. Great
Exactly.
initiative on that front. Two questions, actually. I think you said that the first reporting segment would be after Christmas, to see how things have progressed with this and the results and so on.
Yeah, just before Christmas on the 2nd of December. Yep.
Okay. Oh, okay. And I was just wondering, all of those contacts that come in, and they're ferried out to the cluster and then potentially out to a specific club or many clubs. If the person maybe comes out a little bit and then we think maybe they've gone to another club, are we keeping those at the cluster level in a system or at the district level so that we can use them for nurturing?
That's a great question. All the contact information that comes in, whether it's through the program we described tonight, or whether it's through Rotary International's program, are going to be kept on a common database. Okay, so we'll know.
Like, is it within our, like, the club runner tool that the clubs use?
It's not, but I'll pass this over to Scott because I'm quickly getting out of my depth in terms of the back end of managing leads.
To be honest, Dan, I have to admit, I haven't seen it myself yet because I've never used it. So I've got a meeting with Brian, who's been in charge of it as the membership director, but I've never seen it myself. But I mean, he showed it to me once, just quickly, but I don't think it ties in directly to Club Runner.
Okay, no, and that's,
but it is through RI, and I believe there'll be access points for the area governor to track, but we're not going to sort of lose anyone. It is all going to be housed there, and we'll know, like, was there follow-up? Did they join? Where did they join? And we'll kind of close the loop with everyone.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, I think you're raising a good point in terms of, I mean, I like to be able to look at things 2 years from now to say, okay, over the past 104 weeks, we've got, pick a number, 500 leads. How many people actually became a member? You know,
Right.
that's the final success metric, right? And so it's very important that we keep that data on file and look back to it and do some analysis on it at a point in time.
I mean, I know from a generating business and leads, often we talk about 10 touches before they convert to a buyer.
Yeah.
So it's potential that they might call us and then, well, now it's not, oh, I'm not going out to a meeting. No, not now. This is too much for me.
Yep.
But we want to keep in touch with them somehow. A year later, is it a better time? Blah, blah, blah.
That's a great. That's a great idea. We should try to create a process for that as a sub process of this overall program, so we don't lose those opportunities. Because if somebody actually, you know, they saw the ad, they clicked on the landing page, they gave us the information, there was something there at that point in time that interests them, right? Yeah. And so we shouldn't lose that.
And my second question is, does the database, if for all of these campaigns, not just or these ads, do we have the management for if somebody says, I don't want to see these anymore, unsubscribe me?
Yeah, well, unsubscribe me. we wouldn't obviously follow up in terms of personal communication with them, let's say an email letter of any kind, if they want to subscribe from a list. The only way they could limit the exposure to an ad on a social media platform is by just clicking on the ad and say, don't show me these ads anymore, which is that's always an option any of us has on any
Right.
ad that we see, right?
Right. But once they've given us their information, we might continue to they see things, and like I'm just going to do does a Rotary nonprofit fall under the same rules
It does
around
not.
marketing contacts?
It does not no.
Okay.
A club does not. We've actually had legal.
Like the castle rules, you know what I'm referring to?
It doesn't. Yeah.
Okay, cool. That was the only
mind you, it's still a nice practice, right? I mean, a lot of it on our websites and
Right.
whatever say, you know, if you don't wish to receive our newsletter anymore because
Right.
you're a former Rotarian, like quit bugging us or something like that.
Yeah.
I quit and moved to Florida or something like that. I don't want to keep receiving email.
Yep.
A lot of us can send those things, and it's respectful to drop them off your mailing list if people don't want
Right.
to receive stuff. But
And
you
I
don't have
think
that same obligation as banks and others.
right. I just think that it's really important from a brand perspective, and you know I'm actually surprised. I'm interested to understand if there are other clubs who are doing LinkedIn, and if there's been any negative response to ads on LinkedIn. Because I've seen a lot of posts there that, you know, if people start bringing personal stuff or stuff that's not strictly business, let's say,
Right. Yeah.
and you'll see comments, take this offline, this is not business related. And so, you know, have we already dealt with that? Do we know about that at the Rotary International level? Have we had any experience with that?
No, I've actually, as we played with the idea of leveraging LinkedIn, I've reached out. I've talked to a lot of people about what people are doing right now, and there doesn't seem to be a lot of. I haven't come across any organizations that are using it effectively. Let's put it that way.
I was just going to say, this sounds like what you're putting together for the district is awesome and very progressive. But I was just wondering if, you know, if we're aware of somebody who's already tried this and what LinkedIn reaction was.
Yeah, the way I foresee using LinkedIn, it's really around focusing on either opportunities to grow leadership skills or leveraging existing leadership skills.
Right.
So the focus there is quite narrow.
That's good.
And I think that bodes well for that in that social media environment, right?
Okay, thank you very much.
Very good. Terry?
And this is Terry from Guelph. In the Guelph Wellington cluster, we have quite a lot of interest for the landing page and being able to modify that for ourselves, with particular interest in being able to promote upcoming top-level speakers and cluster events.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm interested to know what the next steps might be for us to be able to add things like that to our landing page.
I've actually reached out to Darlene this week. You guys are going to be the first out of the gates with the new landing page format. She's teed it up for your cluster PR team meeting, I think is on the 6th of June. I'd be happy to sit in on that meeting if you want me there. And that she'll come back to me with kind of the type of copy that you would like to see in general to represent all your clubs, but also the specific copy you'd like to see to represent each club. So that I think that's where we'd start to introduce potentially other topics. Probably like to see that towards the bottom of the page, or maybe a tangential link off the page, but I think there could be room for that.
Thank you.
Anything else? Well, thanks, guys. I do appreciate your time on a beautiful, it's turning out to be a summery night. Any questions on this, please let me know. Like Scott said, we're here to serve. This is kind of new territory for us, but we're certainly very excited about hopefully where it's going to lead. You know, I'd love to say in 6 months from, or a year from now, that we generated 300 leads and they were well managed, and you know, from there maybe we've got 50 new members. I don't know what the number is going to be, but I'm excited about the prospect of something good happening.
Let's do 50.
Let's do 50. Yes.
Hey, Dan, it's Sonia. On behalf of the leadership team, as well as everyone's here, I really want to say thank you. An immense amount of work has gone into this by both the membership team and the PR team. So thank you for pulling this together. And I'm really looking forward to the club's support around it and getting some very valuable data behind our activities. So yay for those 50. Did we say 5,000? Was that what I heard? Those new members.
That would be great.
It's a great plan. So thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Good stuff, folks. Well, have a good night. And yeah, reach out to us if you need any help whatsoever. Both the membership team and the PR team, we're here to help you out as much as we can. Take care.